Yo, what is going on, everybody? Kevin Calhoun here from The Calhoun Show. What's going on? We have a lot of stuff to get to on the show here today as Brett Zanardi is in studio. We talked a bunch of NBA, plus a little college basketball and some NFL stuff too. Quick mention off the top, we lost internet here on Wednesday, so that's why the show's a day late. We put up a Facebook Live video that you could have checked out and had some stuff on Twitter, but in case you just download and don't have any of the social media things and follow us, that's why we're a day late. We had no internet, couldn't do the show. So we had Brett in. I had a blast with him, and I have a couple other things that I'm going to do on my own as we get this thing going. But let's start it as we always do. Patty's music. Let's get it going. This is The Calhoun Show. You can follow us on Twitter at Calhoun Show and email this show at calhounshow@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at ShutUpCalhoun. You can subscribe to this here lovely podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. And if you go to iTunes and you leave us a nice little rating and review, I will love you forever. Nice little 5 stars and a nice comment. It helps push the show to new people across these wonderful lands. And you can leave us a voicemail, 860-740-2119. And all episodes of The Calhoun Show are available in their entirety on YouTube. So, what do we have going on today? Well, today is a fun time because we've had the NBA and NHL trade deadlines come and go. And we previewed them in the last few weeks here on the podcast. And I told you that it was more than likely that not a lot was going to happen. And as it turns out, I was kind of wrong, at least on the NBA side. The trades themselves weren't that compelling, but some of the signings were, and Brett and I get into all of that. The NHL had some really, really interesting things happen yesterday, and I'm going to talk about that stuff too. I wanted to start quickly before we get into what was a really fun time with Brett here in studio. Before I get to that, I just want to make mention of this because it gave me a fun idea. So Kyle Gregoire, one of our regulars, posted on the Facebook page a link to a box score from a Mets-Red Sox game that he and I went to back in 2009. And it was Kyle's first game. I think it was his first game at Fenway. And it made me think, and I'm gonna pose this question to you guys, and I want you to send your answers back either at Calhoun Show or comment on one of the Facebook page posts or one of the YouTube videos or anything you want to do. What was the coolest game you attended live in person? Like, what was, if you could relive one game that you went to, what was one that you would go back for? I was trying to come up with one for myself. And I was lucky enough to see a Penguins Lightning game in the playoffs, which was incredible. I was there the day that Bledsoe got hurt, and Tom Brady came in. We were there when Strahan sacked Favre for the record. I've had a bunch of really cool ones. But I want to know, if you could relive one game that you've been to, what was the coolest game that you've ever been to in your sports fandom life? So that's the question this week. So you guys send your answers back at Calhoun Show, at Shut Up Calhoun, anywhere you'd like to get in touch with us on the old social media. We will be there. So without any further ado, let's get into me and Brett talking NBA trades, and I'll talk to you guys on the other side of it.
The Calhoun Show.
And we're back, and Brett is back in studio.
Kev, how are you, my friend?
What's going on, man? How you been?
Everything is good. Great seeing you.
Yes, and we knew we were going to do a trade deadline show.
Yes.
And we kind of thought maybe a little more would happen, but there's a lot of stuff because I was going through it and I was like, all right, not a lot of big trade, Boogie,
right,
here and there, but there's a lot of stuff written down here.
Under the radar stuff. The buyout market this year was pretty crazy.
It was. So we'll start before we get into any of that. Your Golden State nervous level of reintroducing KD to the team. Round one.
I mean, coming in, we were going to do this yesterday. We were going to talk about the trades, but the biggest thing, obviously, that's happened is Durant's injury. First of all, in my opinion, they're lucky it wasn't an ACL. They're lucky it wasn't like a broken fibula or tibia or something like that.
Yeah.
The hyperextension, though, that's 4 weeks minimum, could be 6. They bring in Barnes to take his spot. Jose Calderon, they were going to bring him in. They told him to go take a hike, but they did pay him.
I couldn't imagine a Nick backup being a player on Golden State's roster.
No, not at all. The way he plays defense, it's not good. He better hit all his free throws. But I think we just got to wait and see, really, to be honest. I know that's a cop-out answer, but Durant and that group were the clear favorites. Now that has changed.
Yeah.
If he comes back and he drops 25 in the second playoff game, we're good. We're good to go. It all is back to status quo.
We'll be in the same situation we were in with Curry when he missed a series, and it was,
right.
Okay, yeah, he's fine.
When he slipped on the floor,
yeah.
They sat him out. They would have beaten the Rockets last year anyways without him. Mm-hmm. They did fine.
Yes.
They still got those 3 guys. The thing that hurts is they don't have the depth anymore.
Yeah.
They're... Are you going to tell me that Iguodala is going to turn it up? Is Barnes going to come in and play? They don't have Harrison. That's Matt Barnes. They don't have Harrison Barnes. They don't have the Bogut's. They don't have the Spates. Mm-hmm. David West is ancient. So their depth is a little different. I guess you're going to find out. Give them 10 games right here. They'll probably go 8-2, and everybody will think it's fine. It's, like you said, getting him back at that correct time. I think it's just a wait-and-see approach.
Is there enough time for San Antonio to catch him?
For the 1 seed?
Yeah, for the 1 seed.
God, I'd have to really look at the numbers.
Yeah.
If they go 2-8, I don't expect them to.
I don't think so.
There's enough crappy teams in the league and probably on the schedule that they can beat. You still got
3 of the top 10 players in the league are still on the floor.
I would be shocked if they weren't the number 1 seed.
Yeah, I would too.
They would have to have almost a collapse.
Yeah, this doesn't scare me. When I saw Durant injury news, it as soon as I saw that it was maybe the last 2 weeks of the year, for sure the playoffs, I didn't, what's their deal going to be? Who cares? Is he not going to be there for the 3rd round? Now maybe I'm scared.
Yeah, right.
That's when we're going to start seeing them play anybody.
Right. When it goes from out for the season, then we'll be back for the playoffs, that's a huge difference. Okay?
It's massive.
If you tell me he's out for the year, then we're singing a whole different tune. They were speculating all that stuff before they found out about the injury. I think you give it 4 weeks, see where he is. Unless they're completely lying to us, we'll just check in. It's March 2nd today.
Yeah.
He's back mid-April. The playoffs start the next week or 2. We should be fine.
They'll be fine.
Yeah.
They're going to be... Who are they going to play in round 1?
It looks like Denver.
Yeah, I know. Which is...
I'm sure we're going to get into the Pelicans and all that stuff. But right now, Denver has a decent lead. They've been playing good. They didn't trade any of their guys. Wilson Chandler was on the block. Danilo Gallinari's been on the block for forever. They found a absolute star in Jokic.
Yes.
He's been playing out of his mind. His stat line against the Warriors had never been done. It was 13, 18, and 17, assists.
It's like a Russ night.
Yeah, but out of a 7-foot center.
Yeah.
Which is just remarkable.
Yeah,
they got Jameer Nelson. He's playing pretty good. They got a couple other guys. I'd really have to look at their roster. I can't tell you I've seen a Denver game all year, but they look to be the 8th seed.
Not high on the league pass.
Either way, it's a 4-1, 4-0.
Yeah.
With or without him.
So you mentioned New Orleans. Mm-hmm. So I have a few questions.
Sure.
First, let's judge the trade. Did Sacramento get fleeced? We know the story now. They had a better offer. They didn't want to do it because they didn't have a commitment. What was your thought on the trade, just the trade itself?
If you dropped me out from the planet and said, okay, this guy averages 27 and 14 and he's never made the playoffs and this is what they traded him for, it's one of the most lopsided trades in the history of the league. But there's more and more stuff that you keep hearing. They're saying that this was the best offer. Vlade said he had an offer. Who knows about with those guys in that front office? You just never trust the Kings. And when you get back Buddy Hield, who's a 24-year-old rookie,
project.
He's the same age as Andre Drummond.
Yeah.
Drummond's been in the league for 5 years, okay?
Yes.
He was averaging 8 points a game on a team with Anthony Davis where he's supposed to be the floor spacer shooter. Now, could he become a good player? Sure. He's not going to become Steph Curry. Vivek Ranadive might be good with technology and computers. He's not good with NBA evaluation, okay?
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, that's not happening. Yeah. Buddy Hield is almost as old as Steph Curry. That's a problem. I think I love Buddy.
Is Kemba Walker the best case scenario for Buddy Hield? A player that finds his way and can start.
A little different player. You know who would be a great ceiling for Buddy Hield would be, and I say his name every time, would be an Eric Gordon or a Lou Williams. He's more of a two guard than a Kemba. Kemba's quicker.
Yeah, okay. That's
he
fair.
would be who would be a really nice, if he could be a poor man's Jimmy Butler, that would be a great job for him.
Yeah, that'd
be really good for him. You know what I mean? I'd have to really think about the rosters in the league. Mm-hmm. But there was packages I think that teams could offer, and the fact that those teams didn't offer and Sacramento still pulled the trigger, that does tell you a lot.
He had to get out of there.
It sounds like
they had to get rid of him.
It sounds like it was a mutual time to go.
Now, it's interesting having the two bigs in New Orleans.
It is.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Can it work?
It can.
Okay.
They're like the modern day Twin Towers. Like, this isn't Duncan and Robinson because they both, the NBA obviously has gone away from the back to the basket guy. And even they both were kind of back to the baskets, the Duncan Robinson. Duncan would expand his game. He made the bank shot. Robinson could drive to his left. These two guys like to pick and pop, not so much pick and roll. The problem is the rest of the guys around them. Like, the third best guy is Drew Holiday.
Not a good start.
And Simmons and those guys were talking about it the other night. Drew Holiday's a nice player.
Sure.
He's not in the top 15 of point guards in the league.
No.
We could go through them all and reel off 15 easily.
Sure.
Now, is he going to be your third guy? If he is, you're fighting for the 8th seed whether you got those two guys or not. You need more around. That roster was terrible.
Yeah.
With Anthony Davis, now you get the second guy. You still need the third, the fourth, the fifth guy. I don't think that if they make the 8th seed, whatever, maybe they give Golden State a run. They bang them on the boards. Each guy they combine for 70 and 50, and they win a game or two.
31-22.
Right. They still need another player. Their best idea would be to get in the lottery, good draft, get a two guard or a small forward that can really play. Then Drew Holiday's your point guard. That's fine.
Yeah, now you're okay.
And now play a whole year with a training camp with Drew Holiday, a top 12 pick, and the two big boys. Now you got something.
Yeah. All right. So it can work.
I think so. If you're New Orleans, you have to take that risk, in my opinion. He might not even sign again. He'll be able to sign the max with them. I believe it went from 209 with the Kings to 179 with them. They're the Kentucky guys. Calipari's texting them. They got their little, in the words of Phil Jackson, maybe their Kentucky posse, you might be able to say.
How dare you? How dare you?
So when you're an alumni of that school, you want to stick together. They'll see. I don't think it even matters if they make the playoffs this year or not. Let's talk about this at this time next year. If they're a total disaster, they might be thinking, are we either going to trade Boogie away now or are we going to sign him and then trade Davis? So that's a wait and see for me.
I have a couple of teams that I want to ask you, what are they doing?
Okay.
Chicago.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Chicago is, they must think two things. Either they asked for the Celtics Brooklyn pick and the Celtics said no, which, believe who you want on that, which I would have said no if I was the Celtics. And if the Bulls didn't give it, I would obviously say no. But they must not think that Jimmy Butler is a guy to be able to build around.
Boston, you mean?
Yeah, Boston or Chicago. Because here's the thing that doesn't make any sense at all. They trade away McDermott and Gibson.
Yeah, they weaken the team.
So
you're not running. You're not going for it.
They're trading those guys because they're definitely going to move Butler and just blow the whole thing up. They traded 2 first-round picks to move up to take Doug McDermott just 2 years ago. That's horrendous. Gary Harris was one of those guys for Denver. He's better. They traded the other guy, Nurkic. Gary Harris is better than Doug McDermott. I'm not saying that I don't love Doug. He could space the floor with Russ. That's a good trade.
Oklahoma City.
That's a good trade for them.
Yeah.
It's just like that Oladipo trade where you're just thinking, wait, hang on. Wait, you just did that deal for Cameron Payne? Is he going to be your point guard, Cameron Payne? He's the guy that does the handshakes. He can't shoot.
Taj Gibson, though.
Right. So
right.
The Bulls,
right. Yeah.
The Bulls to me are just stuck in a hard place. They kind of pulled a Midwest Knicks, right?
Yeah.
They signed Wade. He's been fine, but is he coming back?
No.
They keep Butler. Okay. Rondo's been a disaster.
It's a bummer.
They've had some.
I root for Rondo.
Yeah, I know. They've had some injuries with like Robin Lopez. That team is just a 500 record mess.
Yeah.
Who knows what they're doing, to be honest? I don't even think they really know.
Mm-hmm.
Because you would think that Butler would have been moved after making that trade. That's what I thought.
That seemed to be the precursor.
Right.
And then we just didn't get the follow. Yeah, I don't know where they are now. And
somebody nixed the deal on them. Whether it was the Celtics saying, okay, we'll give you the Brooklyn Nets, and then the Bulls being like, okay, then we want Jay Crowder.
Yeah.
And the Celtics are like, wait, hang on. We'll give you Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart.
How high would you have gone? What would you have given up for Butler?
See.
First rounder and Crowder. Brooklyn's pick and Crowder for Butler.
Do you do that trade?
Yeah.
The Celtics didn't do it.
Would you do it?
Would I do it?
I would have done it.
If I was the Celtics?
Yeah.
I probably would.
They can win the East with that trade.
I probably would.
They can win the East with that trade.
They must not like the way that Jimmy Butler and Isaiah Thomas would fit in the backcourt.
That's okay. That's fine. If that's the sticking point, I get it, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And maybe they want to wait to make sure they get the number 1 pick. Because it's obviously not a guarantee.
Yeah.
They were going to have the best chance of the 1 and 2 picks. It looks like it's another 1 and 2 player draft with Fultz and Ball. We can get into that later if you want. But it sounds like they kind of wanted to drive the price up. It didn't hurt the Celtics by not doing it. They just beat Cleveland last night. They got the second best record.
They're not going to win the East, though.
They would have done it if they thought that Butler was the difference. Now, would they have done it for Paul George? That's the other question.
Who would you have done it for first? I would have rather have Butler.
I would have rather had George.
Really? Maybe if you're the Celtics, though, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a better fit.
Because
with what Isaiah does.
Bradley Isaiah, and he just slides right into the small forward.
I'm okay. I think Butler's a better player.
I agree.
But I agree
he's on a better contract.
Paul George would help help Boston.
Paul George has indicated that he might only sign with LA or the Pacers, so that's why Boston wouldn't do it.
Yep.
But if I'm the Celtics, all I'm thinking about is, okay, I drafted Jaylen Brown because I want him to guard LeBron. I was watching Jaylen Brown guard LeBron last night.
Yeah.
Did a pretty decent job. If you're the Celtics, and my thought was, okay, now you get Paul George. Now you got a guy that could at least, obviously you're not going to equal him out, but you try to stop that player.
Yeah.
They must have thought that either George would not have signed with them, or the Pacers asked for Crowder, the pick, Brown, and Smart, and then you're obviously not doing it then. So somebody stopped it all somewhere. I'm telling you. And I also think that there's another thing at play. It's kind of a conspiracy theory. Kind of stole it. I'm not going to lie. As bad as the Celtics fleeced the Nets, everybody is like, oh shit, we can't let Danny Ainge do this to us. Like, we have to make sure that we get 5 guys for Paul George. And Danny Ainge isn't going to do that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, oh, well, what do the Celtics know that we don't know? You know, it's like kind of like that thing, like, okay, maybe you're thinking a little bit too deep into it.
Yeah, well, the Celtics know what they were offered and you don't. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's that simple. What do the Celtics know?
Right.
They know that they're not, taking 70 cents.
No, they're not.
And they don't, but isn't it the time too, though? Cleveland's not healthy. Mm-hmm. They're clearly one of the 3 best teams in the East, depending on what Washington looks like that night.
They are.
I would have done something, but if the price was too high, the price was too high. But it felt like they should have done something.
I think the Celtics love being in the driver's seat, and I really think they want to see if it's that number 1 pick. Because then, once that lottery happens, that day in May, then you have a month until June. You see who declares. Maybe somebody comes with an offer that is better than the Paul George, Jimmy Butler offer. You never know.
Could very well be.
You never know. I think the Celtics figured, hey, look, we have the best of both worlds. Let's have our cake and eat it too. We're the second best team in the league with the best chance at the number 1 pick. Let's wait until we get blown away. If there's any hesitation, it's like the Hall of Fame.
Bet the Knicks will give you Carmelo for it.
Oh, I think the Knicks would give him Carmelo for the 18th pick.
18th round if they had him.
Yeah.
Speaking, I wanted to go to the Knicks really quickly because that's the next.
We always go to the Knicks.
What are they doing? And we'll do the Knicks quickly because it's such a mess.
Well, they clearly tried to do something this year and it didn't work at all.
I get why they released Brandon Jennings because it was a nice move to let him play for. That's so Knicks though. We have a good player, but we'll just give him up for free. It's fine.
Yeah, and And couldn't you have gotten us maybe a second round pick or
something? Cash. That was my thought. You can't just trade him for cash.
They signed him for 1 year and he played 6 months, and he's gonna get that money, and they don't get him.
And he was fine. He was a okay backup point guard for a team that's not good.
He's a perfect backup point guard. Yeah. Really. He knows that he's not a starter anymore. Where did he go? Washington.
Yeah.
That's a nice spot for him.
It's a great spot for him.
He gets to play those minutes behind Wall and Beal.
Yep.
He's better than freaking Trey Burke.
He sure is.
And why not go there? That's good for Brandon Jennings. As for the Knicks, they should have gotten rid of everybody. Now, Carmelo, all the talk leading up to the trade, up until 2 weeks before it, was all Carmelo. You knew he wasn't going to get moved. At no point in time did you, me, your dog, anyone think that Carmelo was going to get moved.
She thought actually he was going to get traded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
She was on the Celtics train.
Well, then I love her then. They are just an absolute disaster. And until there's a change, whether it's Phil or Carmelo or somebody, they're always going to be this way.
Maybe they just keep firing the coach. Just keep firing the coach every 3 years.
Oh, my God. The Joakim Noah contract, he's not even going to play.
The Joakim Noah contract.
It's like they're trying to screw up Porzingis. I mean, now they're going to experiment with the triangle.
Yeah, the last month of the year. The last month of the year is going to be triangle. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be beautiful. All right, last what are they doing team?
Okay.
Is Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the clip from last night of Okafor not playing defense.
Oh, my God. Oh, my. He looked like the defense that gets played in the under 30 league that I was in last night. It's exactly what it looked like. That's pathetic.
That was bad.
And you trade Nerlens Noel. You want to talk about a winner, the Mavericks. That's a rim-protecting, shot-blocking demon. Yep. Okafor looks fat, uninterested, and out of shape. Okay, that's what he looks like. The funny thing is, with all these teams that you're giving me questions on, they've all had major, major injuries. With Durant, we haven't gotten to Toronto, but Lowry kind of screws up the two great things they did at the deadline.
They were great.
You know what I mean? And now we got Embiid. He's out for the year. Mm-hmm. Simmons is out for the year. It sounds like Philly tried to put together a package for George, but it wasn't enough. Because I don't think if you can't get that for the Celtics, then you're not going to take it from Philly, because their assets aren't as good unless you're willing to give up Simmons, but I don't think you are.
No, I don't think so.
I think that Philly is just going to hope that these guys are not the next Bill Walton. I mean, they've got two players with
They just got to hope for the 2 pick. They got to hope for the 2 pick.
Injuries,
hope for the 2 pick. Hope Ball is there.
Yep.
Then you trade Okafor for whatever you can get for him.
Get him out of there.
And then you build around that 3 with
I would
Simmons,
not have traded Noel if I was them.
I wouldn't have either.
Noel.
Trade Okafor for a duffel bag.
Sure.
But he's not helping your team.
But trade Okafor there was talks with the Pacers. Trade Okafor for the Pacers pick. Maybe that makes Paul George a little happier. Mm-hmm. Or trade Okafor to the Bulls for the Gibson and McDermott package.
That's a great call.
He's from Chicago. Why not do that?
Chicago takes that deal.
I bet you they do.
Way before Oklahoma
Honestly,
City.
I bet you Chicago does that in a second. I don't know why that wasn't the deal. Because then Okafor goes home. Maybe he's pumped up to play with Butler and Rondo and Wade. You got the Chicago guys there. You bring McDermott and Taj to the young team.
I really like that.
I know.
I really like that.
It just kind of came to me. I'm not even kidding. But that's the type of deal that you should do. I don't think you should trade Nerlens Noel, who's the shot blocker, the energy guy. He's perfect in Dallas next to Dirk.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want to pay him. I'm not sure what that. I think the rookie contract is up. He's in 2013. But Okafor, especially with Embiid, you keep Noel, in my opinion, over Okafor. If you're asking me what are the Philly doing, that's where they screwed up.
So we mentioned Toronto.
Yeah.
PJ Tucker.
Love him.
Yeah.
On the Suns.
This is very, very limited knowledge on PJ Tucker for me. I don't watch a lot of Phoenix Suns basketball.
Unfortunately, I used to love the Suns during the Barkley, then the Jason Kidd, then the Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire era. PJ Tucker, unfortunately, is known for 2 things: hard defense and consecutive DUIs.
Not ideal.
Not ideal. But in terms of basketball, PJ Tucker is a dog. He will go out and he will foul, yell at, talk junk to the LeBrons, the Georges, the small forwards, the Giannis's. He is a tough guy. if Toronto's in a big game, he won't start for them, but if they're in a big game and they have Lowry back with DeRozan, it'll be Tucker at the small forward with a combination of Ibaka and Valanciunas. Maybe they have to go small, take out Valanciunas. I'm telling you right now, Tucker will be in that game, and he will be checking LeBron. He will be checking Jay Crowder. He will be on Dwayne Wade. He is a tough, hard-nosed defender. Low under-the-radar move. I like that the Suns got rid of him and got a draft pick for them because they need to just stay young and stink.
Keep sucking.
Keep sucking. And with him and Ibaka, that was 2 good moves. Now it's Lowry's wrist.
Yeah.
These injuries have really thrown a loop into what everybody wants to do. And there's been 3 big ones this past week, all in the East.
Yeah, and it's a bummer, too, because, and this is what I'm going in the order I am, because I'm setting up, because the top 4 in the East is great right now.
It really is.
It's really fun. So you mentioned Ibaka, so we know what Toronto is.
Toronto,
and then
with Lowry, it looks good. Here's the problem. If they don't have Lowry, they're not getting out of the 4 spot. Nobody wants to play Cleveland of those 3 teams, Boston, Toronto, Washington. Nobody wants the 4. They want to take their chance with Cleveland in round 3. The later you get somebody, you don't know if Kevin Love hurts his shoulder like he did 2 years ago or his knee here again.
LeBron could get hurt. Who knows?
Absolutely. Or if Kyrie, what he did in the finals. You don't risk that on anybody, but you certainly don't want to meet them in the second round.
Yeah, for sure. So Ibaka and Tucker in Toronto. We mentioned Jennings.
I like those moves.
Your boy, Bojan Bogdanović.
Not bad.
To Washington as well. So you get those top 4 teams with Cleveland, Boston, Washington, and Toronto. 3 of them got better. We haven't gotten to Cleveland's 2 signings yet.
Yeah.
But 3 of them got better, and the Celtics didn't. And that's kind of where it just feels like something had to happen. But if they were going to overpay, you can't do it.
Yes. The Celtics had a lot of confidence in their roster. I think they think that Jaylen Brown is going to play more minutes and make a bigger impact. I think they like Terry Rozier. I know he's not going to light the world on fire because he's got hair down to his neck, but Kelly Olynyk has been playing awesome lately.
Yeah, that's true.
We watch a lot of Celtics. Marcus Smart is a shorter PJ Tucker. He's just a tough, hard-nosed player. If they hold off Washington, then it'll pay off. If they drop down to the 4, they might be kicking themselves. Let's assume that Toronto has the 4 because Lowry's going to be out till the playoffs. So let's just keep Toronto in the 4 spot.
I'm comfortable with that.
I don't think that Atlanta is going to come up from the 5. Atlanta just is that same exact kind of Atlanta team.
Is there a team in the bottom 6 after the 4 spot that can win a round?
Unless you tell me that the Pacers are going to upset. If Toronto got the 3 and didn't have Lowry and the Pacers were the 6, maybe. I don't see the Pacers beating the Wizards or the Celtics if they're the 3.
No, I don't either.
The Pacers are the 6, the Bulls are the 7, and Detroit is the 8. The team that I thought that could give a lot of trouble that has had a really disappointing year, they've had a big injury, is Milwaukee with the Greek Freak.
Yeah,
he's had a fantastic year.
He's leading in all 5 categories. I don't know if you saw that.
He's phenomenal.
Yeah,
he started the All-Star game. They got Chris Middleton back, but then right when they get him back, they lose Jabari Parker for a second ACL.
Yeah.
And they have Monroe, and they have Malcolm Brogdon, who's been playing great. They got your Dellavedovas. They had a nice core, but without Jabari, they're not even in the playoff mix right now.
No. Well, they're a couple games out, but they're not getting any closer.
No.
They're not getting any closer. The East...
So the answer to that is no. I expect the East to go 1 through 4.
Atlanta, Indy, Chicago, Detroit. I just don't... Those are the next 4. Miami's not interesting.
It's amazing what Miami has done. They were 11 and 30, and they're like
12 in a row.
Yeah,
they won 12 in a row.
Incredible, really. Charlotte has fallen off. The Knicks stink. Philly stinks. Orlando stinks. Brooklyn, I don't know if they would win the Big East. So I expect those 4 teams to battle it out. Cleveland will get the 1.
Yep.
I think Boston or the Wizards get the 2 or the 3. Doesn't really matter. I'd rather play the Bulls than the Pacers in round 1 if you gave me that choice. Toronto stays at the 4. You have that final 4, and then you duke it out.
I love that Final 4.
It's nice.
It'll be a really compelling second round in the East. I have a question for you. This sparked our buddy Dan, who comes on a lot.
Yes.
He and I were talking about this. aside from, we were texting the other night, aside from Golden State Cleveland, because we all want the rubber match.
Sure.
Right? That's what we all want.
With Durant playing.
If you got to pick the finals without those two teams, because that's what we want.
Yeah.
But if I don't get one, I don't want either, to be honest with you. Like, if Golden State makes it and Cleveland gets knocked out, I don't really want Golden State.
Because you're like, they didn't believe LeBron.
Who cares?
And then if Cleveland gets it and Golden State doesn't, you're like, well,
LeBron
didn't have to go through Golden State. And then people will debate that that's not a good win for LeBron. So, yeah, I agree. Forget that crap.
Okay, so you get to pick the finals without Golden State and Cleveland. What's your ideal? You get to watch 7 games of this.
Okay.
What do you get?
Just a tad biased.
I know, well, you're a Celtics guy.
Okay, I would take the Celtics against the Rockets.
That's exactly what I took.
Really?
That's exactly what I took.
Yes, I think it'd be phenomenal.
Yep.
The 2 best players on the court would be left-handed, and they'd have the ball the entire time.
That's a good point.
Talk about a team that upgraded. The Rockets getting Lou Williams.
Yep.
I can't ever remember a team having the 2 by far leading candidates for the 6th man as the Rockets do with Eric Gordon and Lou Williams.
Pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
I think they're going to try and shoot 53s a game and just try and make 20 of them.
Dude, I watched the Rockets Clippers.
Yeah.
It's almost unwatchable. They had 70 points with like 3 minutes left in the second quarter.
It's where the game is gone.
I know it is.
But
I know,
a basketball purist, you're just like, come on.
It's just brutal.
I know.
There's no defense. I mean, the Clippers are a special case of no defense.
Right.
So I guess that's a caveat that should be thrown in there, but it's a little hard to watch.
The Clippers are on their own little island, as they have been for the last 4 years.
You know how I thought this last night. If you're watching if you got a basketball game on TV but you're not looking at it, and then you look and it's like one of those times after the whistle where the guy's standing by the 3-point line, he just throws the ball and people are just kind of milling around. That's what that game looked like, but they were playing.
I know what
like
you mean.
4 times I looked over, I was like, "Oh, they just been throwing it up after." No, they haven't. They're still playing, and they're just all standing there because no one's gotten ready yet. Because we're just running, and
nobody can close out big enough because Houston just has 5 guys standing around the 3-point line. Even their big guys like Anderson.
Yeah, they stand.
They
on
just
top.
put Capella in the middle, or with Williams and Ariza and Harden, obviously, and Gordon and Anderson. I mean, they'll fire 10 threes each. There's 40 threes right there.
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time in the East.
Yep.
In the West.
Yeah.
Who improved the most? Who are you most impressed with? You just talked about Houston.
Yeah. It's funny. The East, they all kind of went for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because Kevin Love was out. So they're
Cleveland
like, hey, let's just take our
vulnerable.
shot.
Yeah.
There's only 4 good teams. Let's take our shot.
Yeah.
In the West, there's 7 teams over 500, with the 7th team being 10 games over 500, and that's the team that has our favorite player.
Yes, sir.
Our guy, and I like what they did.
Yes.
We already kind of mentioned
Dougie
it.
Fresh.
Taj is a tough, hard-nosed guy. They'll get Cantor back. Taj, Cantor, and Adams. They're just like an annoying front line. Like, they'll throw an elbow. They'll knock somebody to the ground. They'll like pretend like nothing happened and they'll hit somebody somewhere. And then you got the freak out there with Russ. Dougie, if he makes a couple shots for them, that'll be good. Obviously, they could catch Memphis and the Clippers and get up to the 5 seed. I mean, they're only a game and a half out of the 4 seed, from 7 to 4. Utah, Clippers, Memphis, Oklahoma City. That's 2 games right there. I like Utah's team. They didn't really do anything. I like their squad. They've been playing really good. Gordon Hayward's having a hell of a year. It's a nice year to have an in-year contract here.
I couldn't believe that they were going to move him.
No.
Where they are now, they have a chance at something here. I mean, I heard there was a lot of talk, though. There was a lot of talk even still, though.
Because they think he just might take a train right to Boston to play for his old college coach.
Which I hope he does. I'm not even a Celtics fan. I just hope that happens. Oklahoma City, they can get up. They can jump up the standings to 4, like you said.
But here's the problem. They're not getting out of the first round unless they get out of the 7th seed.
But, see, I don't agree with you. I think Russell Westbrook can beat San Antonio on his own. I think Russell Westbrook can beat 27 teams in the NBA.
Yeah.
On his own.
Except for
with the team around him.
2.
Except for 2.
Yeah.
And I mean in a 7-game series, not just any night. Like,
sure.
He's crazy. And the team that they put around him, if those pieces all work, they have, like you said, the annoying front line.
Yeah.
They're physical. They have shooters. They have guys.
Now they finally do have shooters.
Now they have shooters. That team's interesting.
Oh,
that team's
they'll
really
always be
interesting
because the guy puts up a 40-point triple-double.
That was
the stat
second
that
one
I know
ever,
that they were saying. I'm sure you saw 30 triple-doubles this year.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan had 28 for his career. Michael Jordan.
Who's that guy?
Yeah, exactly. Are you kidding me? He's still only 6'4". It's not like he's 6'9". He's incredible. You know that they want to get they want to get to that 4 or 5. They'll play Utah. They'll play the Clippers. They'll play
They want them right away.
Yeah.
Right away.
Hell yeah. They want that 4 or 5 game. They don't mind going on the road. Utah has not played in as many big games as Russell has. And even now Adams and Cantor and I mean Oladipo really hasn't, but he's just kind of young and dumb where he'll just play his ass off, you know. Mm-hmm. I think that they think that if they just keep moving up the standings, they'll be right there. The team that I can't get a read on the Clippers. I don't think Memphis is going to do anything regardless of where they are. They would lose as it stands now to Houston, I think, fairly easily. If the Clippers drop, they're going to get smashed.
I'll tell you
if the Clippers stay where they are, they could beat Utah.
The Clippers, to me,
I'm just kind of sick of the Clippers, to be honest.
They're the Chargers and the Bengals.
Oh, my God.
It's, might be good.
The Falcons this year.
But then they're just like, they're not going to. Yeah, the Falcons are great. High-powered offense. Yep. But they're just not going to do anything.
No. They're the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers.
That's exactly what they are.
Yeah, they're the Phillip Rivers LT Chargers that are going to go 14-2 and then let the Jets beat them in the.
Let the Jets go in there.
Yeah, go in there and
or have Tomlinson sit out in that Schottenheimer game and Brady just carved them up.
You remember when they stomped on the terrible towels?
I mean, it's actually a good comparison. It's kind of funny that they just moved to LA too. Yeah, but they are kind of like the Clippers of LA when you think about it with the Rams and the Lakers.
Yeah, there's no team in the NBA that, like, if you hear people do top 10 teams in the league, who's this, who's that. The Clippers are just roll my eyes every time. They're not compelling to me at all. They're not interesting.
No, they're not.
Blake Griffin on a great night isn't that fun to watch.
No, he's not.
Chris Paul on a great night is pretty fun.
Yeah, he is.
But
there's only so many lobs to DeAndre Jordan you could watch.
And I can't watch DeAndre Jordan play basketball anymore. I'm happy to know he's still out there. He seems like a great guy, and he does what he does well. Mm-hmm. Can't watch him shoot.
No.
Can't watch him play offense. Can't watch him post up. I don't want to watch any of it.
Couldn't even watch him in the dunk contest.
I couldn't even watch the dunk contest.
Oh, the dunk contest was probably the worst thing I've seen all year.
Yeah, I watched highlights of everything that happened. I'm done with the All-Star game.
Oh,
it's got to stop.
I shut it off. I didn't even watch it. Sunday night is for shows. It's not for the All-Star game. I coached a 7th grade basketball team this year.
Yeah.
It was more fun to watch them than it was anything that happened on All-Star weekend.
More combined points, the All-Star game 2 teams or the basketball team you coached in 5 games.
5 games
during the season.
Not even close.
Both teams.
Not even close.
Not even close.
I mean, I don't know. They got to fix the All-Star game. They have to make it more competitive. They have to put some sort of money on the line or some sort of status in their contract where if you win the All-Star game, you get this. I know that there's something in there, but they have to make it more competitive. I heard about, resetting the score every quarter and have them play to win the quarter. So you play hard for 12 minutes for a cash prize, and then you donate it to a charity of the NBA, like maybe Craig Sager's thing. That was the only good thing. They raised $500,000 for him.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was a joke. I think we shouldn't even mention the All-Star game anymore.
All right, so last one was the Cavs. We haven't done the Cavs yet. Yeah. So the Cavs get Darren Williams and Andrew Bogut. Mm-hmm. Love both of those.
Yeah, you can't do any better, especially in the buyout game.
Yeah, just sneak right in, take 2 players, don't give up any assets, and move back into position.
You knew Bogut wanted to get traded, so that's where you're like, Philly, what are you really doing? If Bogut goes in a trade to a good team, he probably isn't going to ask to get bought out. Did he even step foot into Philadelphia, or did he just have to sign and go right to Cleveland? It would have been nice if he went to the Celtics or the Rockets, but he had his choice of the top 4 or 5 teams.
Yeah.
He's a perfect player for them. Not only does he know everything Golden State does, he's pissed that Golden State let him go because he did all the dirty work for
I
them.
heard Simmons say he's a coward if he goes back to Golden State.
Yeah. Well, luckily,
cracked me up.
and I'm surprised he couldn't go back because they traded him.
Oh, really?
So he couldn't go back within the calendar year.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, which I'm surprised that Bill didn't either. And that's kind of a simple thing. Like, they know all about the cap and whatever. They know all their stuff on the ringer there. Maybe I should apply. Anyways, he's a perfect center rim protector. He takes some pressure off of Tristan Thompson. Does not have to grab every board and block every shot for that team. Mm-hmm. He sets really good screens. He's kind of half dirty player. Like, he's just exactly what they needed.
If the book on Steph is to beat him up,
sure.
Now Bogut's on the other side.
Now Bogut's going to be in every ball screen with Steph, and he's gonna crunch him.
When Steph comes down the lane, he's going to have Thompson, Love, and Bogut there. Yeah. I don't want to go there.
No, absolutely
and
not.
LeBron and LeBron James.
Sure.
And LeBron James is also on the
strongest
floor.
one of them
is
all.
also on the floor as well.
And then Darren, I don't think you could have gotten a better backup option. When LeBron was like, Charles Barkley would say he was whining about it. But when he was asking, which is going to turn out to be the right move, they were trying out like Mario Chalmers and Lance Stevenson and like a Calderon or like a guy like that. And then they get Darren, who he's not the Darren Williams who it used to be, Chris Paul, Darren Williams, Olympian, 3-time All-Star, but now he can play 15 minutes and be another ball handler. He got the game-winning shot last night off a pass from LeBron. He might make that shot in a game that counts. Mm-hmm. In that role, it's perfect for him.
Yeah.
You'd rather put it this way, you'd rather have Darren Williams than Brandon Jennings.
Yeah.
You would.
Not by a lot.
Not by a lot,
but yeah.
Not by a lot, but I'm saying if Washington got Darren Williams
I agree.
And Cleveland got Brandon Jennings, that would make that even more intriguing. The fact that Cleveland got it, and the Durant injury, it definitely should be the favorite to repeat.
It's a fascinating year.
It really is.
Before we do a little college basketball and I got a couple football questions for you. I do need your thoughts on Jarrett Jack is back in the NBA.
Jarrett Jack, always loved Jarrett Jack.
I know, right?
He was a starting point guard for Georgia Tech when UConn kicked their ass in 2004. For the national championship.
Worst beat in a March Madness pool of my life.
Yeah.
I had the Final Four right, but I had UConn losing in the Final Four. So my own team.
Your own team?
My own team.
You were hedging a bet and you didn't even know what it was? How old were you in, like, 6th grade?
What year was that? Was that
04?
04, so I was 14.
Yeah, 8th grade.
So yeah, no, there was like 90 people in the pool. I had all four Final Four teams dead nuts. And then I had, Duke on the other side.
Yeah.
And I had Georgia Tech, I had UConn losing in the Final Four round. And then obviously they went through and won twice. And I didn't get any more points in the Final Four. I finished in 4th place, one spot out of the money.
That's devastating. Who did Jarrett Jack sign with?
Was it New Orleans? I thought it was New Orleans. So I'll find it.
I know he's back in the league because I had heard that myself.
I had it pulled up here. Let's see. I'm not going to be able to find it if I'm just looking for it now.
We need a Tate Frazier in here.
Yeah, right? We need an actual producer. I'm gonna look it up, but you can start with the college basketball because, as you know, I plug into college basketball in like a week from now.
Well, it's March now, and the conference tournaments are starting next week. Selection Sunday will be a week from this Sunday, the 12th.
Let's see. Jarrett Jack news. Let's see. You gonna tell me who?
Pelicans.
New Orleans Pelicans.
Yeah,
there you
call.
go. I know some stuff. All right, so college basketball. Well, first off, can we just really quickly? Can I understand why Michigan doesn't know how to block an entire full court length pass? Did you see that ending last night in Northwestern?
It's like letting a Hail Mary.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. The college basketball's been fun. I have watched more. You'd be proud of me. I've watched more than I usually do to this point. Good job.
It has been fun.
Yeah, there's
some
fun.
Really good. People love this draft class because there's been some really exciting freshmen.
Yeah.
And you want to know what people like? Teams can score now. It's not a rock fight every night like it used to be. Even the Big East teams are doing it. Even the ACC teams are doing it. UCLA put up 98 last night. I mean, they have a solid squad. I think it's going to be another wide open tournament, but the quality of play this year is definitely better than it was last year.
College basketball to me has started adapting the NBA style with how they're going to play.
Yes.
And it's made the one and done when it first came in, it bogged down college basketball. It was a slugfest, like you said, it was a rock fight because nobody played together. They were together for 7 months and then they were gone.
And then that was it, yeah.
But now that's okay because they're just shooting. So that's normal. That's what they're capable of, and now they can score.
Right. College basketball is all about the program and the coach, right?
Yeah.
Those teams are always good because of the program and the coach. And instead of those coaches micromanaging as much as they used to, they're kind of letting their guys play. Like, for instance, Malik Monk at Kentucky.
Yeah.
He had 47 against UNC. That's, like, by far the most a Calipari player has ever scored. And Calipari, think of the players he's had.
All of them.
Yes.
All the players.
That's by far the most. He's had the most 20-point games, and he's only had 4. Remember, Anthony Davis only scored like 10 points a game on that team. You know what I mean? Like Derrick Rose only averaged 15.
They had that title game on the other night.
That's a hell of a game.
And I stayed on it for like 10 minutes, and I was like, Davis, he had the block, and I was like, he didn't do a lot.
No.
It's crazy.
They used to shackle those players and not let them do anything. Now they're letting them open and breathe and push the ball and shoot threes and get to the rim and throw alley-oops. It has been more fun. It's better for the quality of the game. It's better for the entertainment value of the game.
To me, the best team I've seen at their best is Duke. I think Duke's the best. I haven't watched a ton of college basketball, but I've watched most of the top 20 teams at least once. I watched Duke when they had when Grayson Allen was just going crazy for three games in a row.
They had a nice stretch.
Yeah. They seem like their ceiling is so high.
See, they are. And they're not going to get as high a seed as they thought. There was people thinking that they might be one of the best teams ever this year. Then Allen has his little tripping thing. The poor kid, Harry Giles, he was the number 1 ranked player this year.
Yeah.
He tore both his knees at one point in his life. I don't even know if he'll ever get back to be the same player he was. So they haven't really been able to count on him. They have this other kid, Bolden, can't get off the bench. They do have Jason Tatum, who's fantastic. He was the number 2 ranked player. He'll be a top 5 pick. Him, Allen, and then the emergence of Luke Kennard makes them scary. If Duke is going to go as far as they are, they need Emile Jefferson healthy. He was the kid that was not healthy last year, applied for a 5th year, maybe even a 6th year. He's the oldest guy on the team. Emile Jefferson almost looks like Tristan Thompson. He does the same exact things. He scores a little bit, grabs all the offensive boards, sets screens, does all the dirty work. They need him if they're going to make a run. They absolutely can.
Might be as old as Tristan Thompson.
He probably could. Probably could.
So is Syracuse a tournament team? They've beaten 3 top 10 teams, but they can't get out of their own way.
Yeah. I saw Syracuse in person in December against UConn at the Garden.
Okay. You
want to talk about a rock fight?
Yeah.
That would be a diss to the Rocks. It was one of the worst basketball games I've ever seen. UConn wins 52-50. Now, since then, Syracuse has pulled off they beat Duke on a half-court bank shot. Now, am I supposed to think? In my opinion, I do not believe they are a tournament team. But if they win a couple games and then win a couple in the ACC tournament and then do what they did last year, they ain't making the Final Four. No way. Could they sneak in? Maybe. You have the number 1 pick, and you're in the NBA, and you're going to keep it, and you're going to draft a player. Who are you drafting? They're saying it's a 2-person draft again. Sure. The first person you might not have heard of. Not saying you, but the regular fan. His name is Markelle Fultz. Yes. He plays at Washington. Remember Ben Simmons didn't make the tournament last year and was the number 1 pick? Yes. This Washington team is even worse. He has no one around him. Are we in a situation where because Simmons got labeled a quitter last year? Yeah. Are we in any way? Simmons, because he said he wasn't going to play in the NIT, and then they didn't even play as a team. They didn't even go. They didn't even. That was embarrassing. And now they have 1 win in the SEC, and that coach is going to get fired because that coach stinks. It's embarrassing. And he stunk last year. I think you yelled about it last year in this room. Absolutely. Might have been right around this time. The coach is horrible. I have no idea how Washington keeps getting these recruits. They have the number 1 recruit coming in next year. His name is Michael Porter Jr. from Washington. Washington, Seattle area, always has great players. Markelle Fultz, I think if I would draft him first. However, the number 2 player is Lonzo Ball. I've seen him much more. He's 6'6". He sees the court like Jason Kidd, and even though he has a funky shot, he can shoot the hell out of it. And he can rebound, and like I said, he's 6'6" as a point guard. Yeah. What better person to put next to a 5'9" guy averaging 30 points than a 6'6" point guard. Lonzo Ball likely is a better fit for the Celtics. You will see what happens if or if not the Lakers lose their pick. It's the biggest part of the draft yet. Mm-hmm. If the Lakers lose their pick to Philly, something crazy could happen. If the Lakers keep their pick, which is top 3 protected, and they get the 2 pick, watch Lonzo Ball's dad, who is out of his mind, say, don't draft me number 1. You want to talk about a Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning thing? Don't draft him number 1. He's going number 2.
John Elway will go play for the Yankees.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly the same thing. I think that this is a really deep draft. You got Josh Jackson at Kansas. Yep. These are all freshmen, by the way.
Yeah, Josh Jackson I've seen quite a bit of.
Fantastic. 6'6", rebounds the hell out of it from the small forward. Not afraid at all. Can go to the basket. Kansas is the number 1 team right now. It's more because of their backcourt, but he's right there. Malik Monk, the kid from Kentucky, just absolutely can fill it up. Malik Monk is everything Vivek Ranadiv wants Buddy Hield to be, except Malik Monk's 19.
Buddy Hield is...
His ceiling is through the roof. Yeah. Malik Monk could be the best 2 guard in the league at some point, especially the way that the game is being played now. A couple other big guys, Lauri Markkanen at Arizona, really skilled player. UCLA has TJ Leaf. Not sure if he's going to go. He could come back. Those 4 or 5 guys, De'Aaron Fox at Kentucky, solid guard, can't shoot. He's left-handed. He's like a Brandon Jennings type of a player, actually. A guy that can really get to the basket. Brandon Jennings was the number 1 ranked player in high school when he came out.
No kidding.
Yeah, he went overseas. He was supposed to go to Arizona, went overseas. A couple other guys in the mix. Those seem to be the consensus top 4 or 5, 6 guys. But this draft is so good, I think it might even be 10 deep. 100 times better than last year's draft.
Who's your, if Selection Sunday was today, who's your number 1 seeds?
Okay. Number 1 overall would have to be Kansas.
Sure.
They're going to win their 13th consecutive Big 12 title. Now, they've only gotten it done once in March. They're the Atlanta Braves of the 90s, unfortunately.
Yeah.
This year, is it going to be any different? I don't know. Last year, I thought they were fantastic. Frank Mason is the Buddy Hield. When I came on that first time last year and was talking all about Buddy Hield, he's that guy right now. He's the senior. He's the leader. He's the Kemba guard. They have another guard, Devontae Graham, fantastic. I don't know if they're deep enough. They would be a 1 seed.
Sure.
Villanova would be a 1 seed.
Sure.
Josh Hart is 1B in the Wooden Award. He's a senior returning player. They got him. Jenkins, that whole cast of characters from the championship team last year. They'd be the 2nd seed.
Sure.
3rd seed, I think, would be North Carolina. If you win the ACC, you're probably going to get a number 1 seed.
Makes sense.
They have an NBA front line. They have a small forward in Justin Jackson, who has stayed around until his junior year. He could be a top 15 pick. He's one of those more NBA-ready guys. He has a really nice game to him. I wonder if North Carolina has the shooting to complement their big guys. They got Joel Berry and Nate Britt back from the championship team. They're going to be right there. And the 4th one, if it's not going to be one of the 3 Pac-12 schools, UCLA, Arizona, or Oregon, which I think it's not going to be. I think you still have to go with Gonzaga.
Okay.
They lost to BYU. I watched a lot of that game. It was almost a stunning upset. BYU is not terrible, but they're not that good. And you shouldn't lose to them at home. But Gonzaga has proven they have one of their better teams. They've incorporated 3 transfers, a kid from Washington, Nigel Williams-Goss, a guy, Jordan Matthews from Cal, who was a late 5th-year transfer. He's been playing fantastic. They have another guy, Williams from Mizzou, alongside that huge dude, Karnowski from last year with the beard. He looks like a lumberjack.
Yeah.
They would be the 4th team. And then from there, I think you could have just as good a number 2 and 3 seeds. If you're talking Duke, Oregon, Arizona, Baylor's had a nice year. Yeah. Florida has had a nice year. Kentucky. I'm grasping at straws now. Maybe a Wisconsin. The Big Ten's a little down this year. Northwestern, congratulations to them. Like you said last night, they're going to make their first tournament bid.
They're going to dance this
year. It's amazing.
Year.
Shows you how good Chris Collins is. Those Duke guys, they're not the greatest basketball players in the NBA, but they A lot of them are good coaches with him, Wojo, Dawkins, Amaker, a lot of those guys.
All right, we've been at this a while, but before we go, I think we have to do something NFL related,
Yes, let's
don't we?
do it.
So your Cowboys.
Yeah.
Jason Pierre-Paul got franchise tag. Suck it.
Yep, very
Can't have him.
disappointed.
Can't have him.
That's fine.
So what are you doing? How do you improve?
Have to improve in the secondary.
Yeah.
Have to get a pass rush. It's funny. The Cowboys and the Giants kind of have
Opposite problems.
opposite problems. Great line, shitty line. Great secondary, crappy secondary. They would have stolen the Giants' pass rusher, but they didn't get him. The Cowboys need help in the secondary. They might want to think about another pass rusher, and they might want to think about maybe grooming a tight end. Those are the three things I think. The Giants do need a tight end, though, too.
The Giants need a tight end, and
In
the
the worst way.
Giants need a running game. They need an offensive
do.
line and another. Perkins seems okay.
Would you take Peterson?
No, I'd draft a kid.
Yeah.
I would draft somebody.
How about there's a guy that I think is a better fit,
Who's that?
Jamal Charles, if he's healthy.
Yeah,
Say you
maybe.
get him on the cheap.
You want to talk about getting somebody on the cheap? If I can convince him not to go back to Green Bay, and I can get Eddie Lacy alongside Paul Perkins, I love that.
Okay, because you don't have to give the ball to Eddie Lacy that much.
No.
He would be your power guy.
Because all the Giants do is run single back sets anyway.
I don't think Eddie Lacy's going back there. I think they're fed up with his eating and stuff.
I would rather draft somebody over sign any free agent running back almost ever.
It's a heck of a running back draft.
Yeah, but it's a heck of a free agent class too for
It
running
is.
backs.
It's
uncanny how
it
many
really
big names
is.
there are.
I mean, I know he's a name, but I mean, would you hate it if they got Christian McCaffrey in the second round or the third round?
with the offense that they run,
Yeah.
he would be perfect.
He
in the
would,
offense
because
that
he
they
can
run.
catch the hell out of the ball out of the backfield. He would be the 20-year-old Shane Vereen that got hurt last year. That's your guy.
The Giants' ideal offseason for me is
You have to get a big-time line.
yeah the
Two
offensive
guys.
the defense. You don't have to touch the defense because they can plug and play.
Yeah.
Literal tackling pads at linebacker with the skill that they have in the front and in
Yeah.
the back. The linebackers just have to know where to stand.
By the way, everybody hated on Jerry Reese. He was a
That
4-for-4 home run last year with that defense.
But you got to be careful. Jerry Reese's ass was in the coals.
It really
He
was.
had no choice.
And he's lucky he got that money to be able to spend, too. And
not
that's
only-
why Tom Coughlin still hates him, because he wanted to stick on with that defense.
But talk about luck. Look at it this way. Look at the top 4 or 5 available defensive players this year. Mm-hmm. They're not great, right? It's a shitty
it was
defensive.
a good year to be in the market.
It was a good year to be desperate, and he had 3 guys that were really, really good that he was desperate enough to have to go
and
get.
he hit on them, and then
he
his
did.
draft pick became a superstar. So,
Yes.
I mean, it was really – I've never seen a defense go from that bad to that good.
He had 2 perfect picks too, Shepard and Apple.
Fantastic.
Phenomenal.
Really were.
Phenomenal. And for me, this is the Giants' perfect offseason. You
Okay.
have to draft.
Do you have a player, though, the lineman? I don't know.
Offensive
the
line? No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't dive that deep into
Yeah,
it.
right.
I have one name of a guy, and I brought this up a few weeks ago. One name of a guy that I want on the Giants next year. It's a guy that loves New York. Mm-hmm. He already plays in New York, but
know
he
you're
ain't
gonna
going to
say.
be on that team next year.
I know what you're going to say.
You give me Brandon Marshall, opposite Cruz with Shepard in the slot. I don't care who the running back
He'd
is.
be perfect.
You keep Perkins and go get draft McCaffrey and 5 offensive linemen.
Talk about your big possession receiver. He can't really stretch the field, but he
You
can
don't
do
need him
that
to.
10 and out and freaking
He's
pick
been-
up
he's
3rd
been-
and 8s all day.
He's been double teamed his whole career.
I know.
You're not getting double teamed with Odell Beckham on the other
No,
side
you're
of the
not.
field.
That's a very good point. He's always been the number 1 guy everywhere he's been. Denver, Miami, Jets. He's always been the number 1 guy.
What NFL player needs to be in New York more than him? Showtime. He's on it every week. That's his job. That's his life after that.
really
He's going to be
is.
phenomenal on TV.
It really
But he's
is.
not giving that up.
The Jets are so stupid and so stubborn that they probably won't release him just
him.
for that point. Just
He just-
thinking that the Giants might get him.
Oh, that's my ideal guy for the Giants. They have to just go.
It'd be perfect.
Trust them to draft offensive line. I did like how they asked Ben McAdoo yesterday about Eric Flowers.
Yeah.
He said, "Yep, he's an offensive lineman for the New York Giants." They said,
Yeah.
"Does he play left tackle?" He said, "He's an offensive lineman."
He's not. He's not playing left tackle unless they want to kill Eli 4 years before he's done.
Eli, legitimately, you could see him hear ghosts
Yeah.
and hear footsteps behind him. He was crumbling before he was getting touched last
I
year.
got a good football one for you. Just
Yeah, go.
kidding. Would you trade Kirk Cousins for the 2 pick? Either team. Who says no?
I would not trade Kirk Cousins. I think
if
Kirk
you're
Cousins,
Washington.
No, I think Kirk Cousins is a top 15 quarterback for sure.
Totally
and
agree.
that's so hard to find.
I would never do it for the number 2 pick.
No.
Not in this draft.
Would you do? I wouldn't do it for the 1 pick this year.
No.
Nope.
But they're trying to draw that Kyle Shanahan. They don't have a player. Unless Cousins tells them that he's not going to resign with them, then maybe you would.
Well, you can't franchise him again.
No, you can't.
You can't franchise him a third time.
Talk about who would have ever thought that guy had leverage. He's got the most. They're saying it's the most
because it's
ever.
Quarterback.
I know.
It's because he's quarterback.
And
Joe Flacco got a $100 million contract.
I know.
It's because he's quarterback.
I can remember them being like, "Oh man, I feel so bad for Kirk Cousins. He's never going to play behind RG3." Now he's the most powerful quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
He hasn't even been to the playoffs yet, or he has once, and I mean they lasted 2 minutes.
Yeah. So
if you're the Browns, do you take one of the quarterbacks? Do you trade out, or do you take Garrett?
No. If I'm the Browns, I am not touching quarterbacks until I have built a roster and I know the guy can play. Mm-hmm. They can't swing and miss 400. It's like the Jets.
Right.
Are the Jets going to draft another quarterback?
No,
we're just going to keep
not.
swinging and missing
They
every
better
other
not.
year.
They have to justify taking Hackenberg in the second round and giving Petty a chance.
They never justified drafting Geno Smith.
No,
they barely
didn't.
justified Mark Sanchez.
No, they didn't. That's why they are where they are.
Yeah.
You just named the 4 reasons why they are where they are. Cleveland, take the best player, take another great player at 12, build that entire roster, put a guy in there, even if it's Kaepernick, let him get killed for a year. Rotate another guy, get another bunch of picks, and then when it comes, then draft the guy. Just don't draft Mitch Trubisky because Mel Kiper says that he's good. Now, if the 49ers want to, I'm okay with that because they got the new coach, the new GM, and the quarterback that stinks. Bring Schaub with them, let him grow. Trubisky's only played 13 games.
Yeah. If I were the Browns, keep that 1 pick, you draft a player.
Yeah.
If you can, I don't know about you, I would trade the 12th pick for Garoppolo.
It doesn't sound like he's going to be moved. I would do the same thing.
I would trade the 12th pick for Garoppolo. Now you have a quarterback. You have infinite number of draft picks, and they have $100 million in cap room.
Wow. And the thing with Garoppolo is I don't even care if he could stink.
Doesn't matter.
I would
They're
rather
gonna stink
have him
anyway.
over any of the draftable quarterbacks this year.
Yeah.
Because he's learned under the best coaching quarterback for the last 2 years, and you saw at least 2 games of flashes. Mitch Trubisky had a good game against NC State. Whoop-de-doo.
There are people that think that Robert Griffin III should just keep him there for now because they're not going to do anything anyway. No, he's not the answer. You can't keep going.
No.
You can't keep going.
The only reason they do that is because he says, yeah, I'll just be your quarterback because nobody else wants me and nobody else wants you, so we're just kind of stuck together.
The last 2 people at the bar.
That's exactly what it is.
The last 2 people at the bar.
RG3 has turned into the beer goggles.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's a great place to stop. Wait, Tony Romo landing spot?
If I'm him.
If you're him.
I love Tony Romo.
I know you do.
If Kansas City gets rid of Alex Smith, that's perfect.
They said they're not going to. They said Alex Smith is our quarterback. I don't think Denver's going to pay for him either.
Then Houston.
Houston's perfect, right?
He can win that division easily.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel terrible for Andrew Luck, but that roster still stinks.
Yeah. Well, maybe they're in the right direction. They got rid of the GM.
Houston with Romo, with that defense, with Watt coming back.
It's perfect. Whew, love it. All right, Brett. We will see you tournament time.
Kevin, absolutely. Let's get on maybe halfway through the tournament, and let's see the rest of this NBA season. Thanks a lot, man.
Absolutely, buddy.
All right.
All right, big thank you as always to Brett for coming in. We always have a blast when he is on the show. Before we wrap up this episode of the podcast, let's spend a couple minutes with the old hockey puck because there has been a couple of things worth mentioning here with the NHL trade deadline. Now, a bunch of teams were really active, and for you hockey fans out there that listen to this show, some of these moves were questionable. Now I'm looking specifically at Montreal bringing in Steve Ott. Mark Bergevin has an obsession with 4th line players, and he loves them so much that he went out and actually got 2 of them this time around. I liked what the Penguins did. They got Mark Streit, and they didn't have to deal with Philadelphia to get to him. I enjoy the NHL trade deadline a little bit more because I end up having to research guys like, who the hell is this? Oh, that seems like a good trade. The Penguins do the salary dump trade, sending Eric Fehr to Toronto. just to open up that room to come back in. And then Kevin Shattenkirk to Washington. I expected the haul to be bigger for what St. Louis ended up getting. I think the fear is that Shattenkirk's just not going to re-sign, whether it be with St. Louis or wherever he got traded to, unless he got traded to the Rangers, because that's where everybody seems to think he's going. I think that hurt his value, and I think it showed by what they were able to get back for him. And it was a good haul. It wasn't exactly what you'd expect it to be. But Washington improves, and the East, it feels wide open. The Penguins definitely have the defensive core that they needed to go into the Eastern Conference playoffs. We know they can score, but they needed to shore up the back end of the D, and they've done that successfully now, adding 2 more bodies there, plus bringing up Derek Pouliot. The other guys that got moved, as far as things that are actually going to affect where the NHL moves ahead, I was more fascinated by the guys that didn't move. That sentence made half sense, but I changed where my train of thought was going halfway through it. I thought the names that didn't move were bigger. Landeskog and Duchesne stay in Colorado. Fleury stays in Pittsburgh. We saw Bishop move. We saw Iginla move, but we didn't see, the gigantic linchpin piece move that we expected to. The Burrows trade, I don't understand why I understand going and getting Burrows now, but I don't understand signing him to a 2-year extension. I don't understand any team that would pay for Chris Neal to be on their team. These moves seemed lateral. A lot of them seemed lateral, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe some of these things turn out to be bigger than expected. But, are you excited to go get Thomas Vanek if you're Florida? Like, is that really something that you get excited about? Johnny Oduya goes back to Chicago. I guess I like that, but what exactly is it? Edmonton trades away another defenseman to bring in David Desharnais, who's going to be, I guess, their third center, and they can keep Draisaitl on the wing. I'm trying to figure it all out. Because in the NHL, things are so muddled this year as far as who can make a run and who can't, especially in the West, that it's tough to tell. It's tough to tell exactly where it's going. But we'll see how things shake out. Vegas is officially a hockey team, by the way, in case you didn't know that. They are officially a part of the NHL, so there is a hockey team in Las Vegas. And I have to wrap this thing up because we're doing this on a different night, and I got places to go. But I'm glad that we got the show done today, and it's over an hour, so nice long episode for you guys. And I'll tell you a quick story on the way out. And I told this story to Patty the other night, and he didn't really give me much reaction, so this probably isn't going to go anywhere. But I have always had a thing, and I asked him if he ever had, and he said no. I've always had a thing where I have a hard time judging when I'm supposed to be whispering and when I'm not to. Not that I'm not loud all the time anyway, but here's the example. So I was at the zoo with my sister the other day, and we made a bunch of Jurassic Park references, and it was really fun. And then we went to dinner after that. We went to this nice little Mexican food place near her apartment down in Maryland. And we're sitting there, and I'm telling her a story. Now, here's the story, and I'll tell you guys the story first, and then I'll tell it the way I told her. So the story was I was driving about 2 weeks ago. I was driving down, it's Route 3. It's near my house. So I'm driving down Route 3. It's not a main or highway or anything. It's just a road with a bunch of plazas and stores and stuff off it. So I'm not lying. I use the voice to text thing in the car. I don't text while I'm driving. So I got a text, and, Siri read it. So I, hit the button without looking at my phone, and I start to reply. And I said something, I'll make up what I was replying to, and I'll say, yeah, the door is closed, right? Now, as I'm saying this, the car in front of me is braking aggressively, and they put their blinker on. So I'm watching them, and I don't want to take my eyes off the road to, hit the button on the steering wheel to save whatever I had just said. So I'm waiting for them, and they got their right blinker on, and we're in the right lane, and they got the right blinker on, but now they're coming to a stop. And me being me, just casually to myself, I was just like, oh, you fucker, come on, let's go. So, long story short, I forget about the whole text thing and everything. And I get home, and I had typed out a text that said, yeah, the door is closed, you fucker. And it just was funny. It never sent. It just made me laugh. Because I had sworn at my phone by accident, and I almost swore at somebody else by accident because I can't stay calm while I'm driving. So I was sitting with my sister at dinner the other night in this restaurant, and I was telling her this story, and first off, having reheard it now twice, I'm sorry for telling it, but as we're sitting there, I'm telling her the story, and I'm getting to the end where the text ends with the words, you fucker, and I said to myself in my head, I should whisper because, I'm in a restaurant. So I said, yeah, the door is closed, you fucker. And I whispered the wrong word. And people looked, and it was awkward, and it was weird. And I might be the only person who's ever not been able to whisper the correct word. But if there's anyone else out there suffering from this, please let me know. And in all honesty, don't. But please do write us in with your number one sports event that you ever attended that you wish you could go back to. We will be reading those next week on the podcast. And suggestions for guests that you'd like interviewed on the show, or if you've got people that you'd like to hear on here, tweet at us, tweet at them. And we'll try to make it happen. We're going to try to get more and more phone interviews and more in-studio guests here in 2017. So we're going to try to keep expanding and keep growing, and you guys are helping me do that. Leave the reviews and the ratings on iTunes. We have a lot of people that have been listening to this show for a long time now, and there's not a lot of reviews and ratings on iTunes. So that it means that you guys are coming back, and that makes me happy. But if you could take 4 minutes out of your time and do that, then I would love you forever. So if you could leave a nice little rating and review and push the show to some new people. And if you want Calhoun Show business cards to give out, just reach out to our social media at Calhoun Show. Shut Up Calhoun is me on Twitter, calhounshow@gmail.com. And we will talk to you next week. Thanks again to Brett. Thanks to everybody who wrote in and everything. We will be back a week from now, or a day less than that, because, the internet sometimes cooperates and sometimes it doesn't. I've been rambling through this exit for about 10 minutes now, so I'll talk to you guys next week. See ya.
Thank you for listening to The Calhoun Show. Join the conversation by following the show on Twitter at Calhoun Show and emailing the show at calhounshow@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe and download for free on iTunes. Want to hear yourself on the show? Leave us a voicemail by calling 860-740-2119.